Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Push to Pass F1 podcast. Today, we are looking back at the Spanish Grand Prix weekend, which has just passed. Fair to say, bit of incident. What do you think, Reeve?
Just a tiny incident,
It's
just a little bit.
just an incident,
Well, in fairness, it was actually just a small incident, but it's more
a
the
fallout.
the wider scale and context involved that makes it a big incident.
Yeah, so if you are familiar with Formula One, or if you follow Formula One and you've been living under a rock or been in some sort of hiatus from the sport for a while, you would have noticed that Max Verstappen had a bit of head loss this weekend.
Yes, you would have noticed that Max Verstappen can't do friendships.
Yeah, you were quite. You went in a bit when we spoke about this yesterday, didn't you? You seemed quite strongly opinionated, more on Max than the actual incident.
Yeah, I'm just tired. I'm tired of it. Just done.
What did you call him? A man child.
Yeah, that was it.
A man child who's really good at racing.
I thought these were private chats, but there we go.
Well,
No.
I tweeted out after the race and said this is incidents like this is the reason why people don't see Max for how good he actually is.
I agree with that. I think that's spot on.
But also, like, isn't that why he's so good?
No, he's
Look,
good. He's good because he's fast and
yeah,
he can pull out a lap from fucking top of his arse. But he's bad because he just lets himself down.
I've seen a lot of people be like, comparing it to like Schumacher and stuff like that, which
Yeah,
I think is like it's a bit different because they're like two completely different eras of Formula One.
they are. I mean, what Schumacher was doing was worse. I mean,
Yeah, but you could like, don't get me wrong, getting disqualified from the championship is a bit more extreme than hitting George Russell in like the sixth race of the season. But
yeah, this is yeah. That's what I mean. I mean, Schumacher was like the epitome of do anything to win, and he was loved. So I'm not saying that what Max is doing doesn't get fans, and I'm sure there's people out there that agree with Max's decision, but I'm just saying he doesn't help himself.
um, people called for him to be disqualified.
I wouldn't have said it was
Well,
disqualification worthy.
what are the parameters to be disqualified? Uh,
I'd say the main one would just be ignoring flags. That would be the biggest sort of disqualification.
Apparently, there's four.
I mean, I guess there is an argument for disqualification considering he ignored the request to let him through.
Why Max Verstappen didn't get disqualified? I know because a lot of the time now we seem to get like disqualifications for technical stuff, don't we?
Yeah,
Whereas imposed seconds was dropped from 15th. Contrary to whether they were too lenient. Many commentators. Oh yeah, I think Nico Rosberg pretty much did what you said he was going to do. He just spoke his mind.
yeah.
He was like, yeah, he needs to be black flagged. But I don't think it was that bad of an incident.
I think what happened was fair enough. Dropped to P10. I think it was. I mean, we're going to get onto it. Do I think it was on purpose? Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah,
don't think I don't think anything else happened other than that he just thought, oh, I'm just not going to turn in.
no, I think you can tell from the radio message as well beforehand when GP's like, "Oh, I'd recommend you giving it back," and he's like, "No, I'm not going to do it. It's not right. It's not right." And even Nico Rosberg was saying like, "No, don't do it. Like that's not right." Because to be fair, I kind of agree. I don't think he should have given it back because
I don't think he should have either. He wasn't through.
no, and he wasn't going to make that move. Like the reason Max went off was because George gave him a little bit of a tap, but yeah, then Max sort of lost his head and was like, "Well, I'll make a point and just deliberately hit him."
Yeah. That's. I mean, he used him as a berm. That's
Yeah.
pretty much what happened there. Which, like the actual incident in itself, wasn't outrageous. He's not gone out there and ploughed into Russell and tried to cause harm. At the end of the day, it was a little tap. Nothing too crazy like that. But it's
He
more.
hasn't slung one into the side part of him like.
No, no, he's not full on like Dan Ticktum head loss. It's more like just it's the principle of it, and it's also the example that it sets. So I'm glad they've punished him Because I think there needed to be a punishment there.
Well, he's 1 point off a ban in terms of penalty points. He's on 11 out of 12, and he has two which run out on the 30th of June. And I
Might be
think we
alright
have
then.
we think we have 2 or 3 more race weekends before that.
He
But then
should
the other
be
ones
okay.
don't. The other ones don't go until November.
He should be fine. I can't
Should be.
imagine that it'll go to any sort of disqualification from races or anything like that. But
No, but Lando was stirring the pot afterward.
yeah, but I've just got this thing, Lando Norris agenda. But he clearly has an opinion, which I don't think would have been a controversial one. But it feels like no one wants to call Max out. Even though, okay, it wasn't his incident this in this particular time, but there's been many times before where a Max move, he's been on the wrong end of a Max move. So I don't think it would have been out of turn for Norris to kind of speak his opinion on the matter and say, oh, I don't condone what he's done. I feel bad for George. But instead, he kind of made a joke of it and was like, oh, yeah, George Russell, penalty point for George Russell and stuff like that. Well, what would have been the issue for him to just say, oh, yeah, Max was bang out of order?
Well, George did it in Abu Dhabi, didn't he? After Max hit Oscar, George
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
he, basically, you got to get out of his way, or he will crash into you. But then you see, like afterwards, Lando's like, "Oh, you turned in on him," to George, and it makes Lando seem, and I don't want to say it, but insufferable. It's
I think
just
it's like a weak mentality. He just doesn't. It seems like he doesn't want like that Max Verstappen smoke one bit. He just wants to stay out of his way.
because, like, do you know? Fair enough, right? If Lando last year or this season had got one over on Max and had done like what Oscar had done this season and gone wheel to wheel with Max and like actually took a decent battle to him. But whenever Lando speaks about Max or what Max has done, it just sort of feels like he's crying a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's sort of like trying to make up for the fact he cannot be him.
I would say cannot beat him, but I'd say he struggles beating him. And definitely in the we spoke about it before, but the mental battle, I'd pick Max 10 out of 10 times versus Norris.
You say the mental battle. Where's this? This is what Nico Rosberg said after the qualifying session. He said, Oscar's lap was beautiful, perfect. Under the highest pressure, he always delivers a maximum of his potential. Lando's lap from turn 1 onwards, he overdid it. He went wide, went offline, got extra snaps, and that resulted in 2 snaps down. Pole position was in the head today. Unfortunately, we see over and over from Lando, when the pressure is highest, we see the little mistakes creeping in.
Yeah, can't really argue that.
No, and I think the race sort of proved that because, like, didn't Lando
Yeah,
drop down to third
yeah.
or fourth?
First corner straight away, Max has mugged him off the line. I think at one point he got maybe a second corner. He was down in fourth.
Yeah, because I think
Just
when
bad start.
he was either George or Charles had him. Oh,
Yeah,
one thing I did want to speak about, not related to F1. Remember last week you said you wanted to see Alex Dunn in Formula One?
yeah.
He had an interesting weekend in Formula Two.
He did. He's class. I mean, he's like I'd probably be complaining about him if he got to F1 because he's got like that streak in him where he's nuts.
Well, he had a 13 place grid drop and managed to get on the podium, I think.
He's rapid. Clearly he's rapid.
He's McLaren,
He's
though.
like yeah. So I don't know where that would kind of leave him with drives obviously because they're sorted. But nevertheless, I think he's class. He's great.
Other feeder series news. Arvid Lindblad secured his seat for Formula One for next year.
Yep, he's done. Yeah, basically, he did what Kimi Antonelli did last year. As long as you win one, they're like, "Yep, brilliant. You've done
Yeah.
enough."
And to be fair, even in the race on Saturday where he spun out, he was kind of unlucky because he did look to have decent pace. It's just Spain is a bit of a crap track.
Yeah, I mean, weren't you saying Spain's all right?
It's I think it's nice to watch a car go around and it's nice to drive on like a game or something. But in terms of racing, the tire deg is so high because all the corners are just so long and just so sweepy that half the time strategy just ends up ruining the race.
Yeah, well, wasn't three stop the ideal
Yeah, well,
strategy?
because Max did a three stop, didn't he?
Mm.
Let me have a look. Max did one, but that was because of the safety car at the end, and he
Yeah.
only had hards. But yeah, it was meant to be a two stop, but they said afterwards they were like our three stop ended up being potentially quicker, which is stupid.
That is mental. But I mean, I don't mind it. I don't mind keeping it
No,
there. It's one of those. But
it's gone next year.
I did see a funny TikTok earlier talking about certain F1 fans,
Oh, God.
and it was someone crying in the grandstand because her favourite Carlos Sainz had been lapped by three of his past teammates, and it just made me laugh because I just thought, yeah, cry over that.
I remember when
Perfectly acceptable reaction.
I remember when F1 fans were normal,
Yeah, can you imagine? Just-
crying over a man who earns literally millions of pounds.
Yeah, because he got overtaken by three of his former teammates.
Oh, game's gone.
So far gone.
F1 fans are woke.
I can't argue it. Yep, they
Right,
are.
let's grade these top 10. So,
Right,
your
let's do
top
it.
10 from 10 to 1 is 10th, Max Verstappen, 9th, Fernando Alonso, 8th, Pierre Gasly, 7th, Isaac Hadjar, 6th, Lewis Hamilton, 5th, Nico Hulkenberg, 4th, George Russell, 3rd, Charles Leclerc, 2nd, Lando Norris, and 1st, Oscar Pastry.
Hmm.
Number P10, Max Verstappen.
Bad weekend.
Is it though?
Yeah,
Because
because it is a bad weekend because he's lost points in the championship anyway, even if he finished what third
yeah, and
or
the
fourth.
the technical difficulty directive, whatever you want to call it, new thing they've added in, didn't really make a difference. Look.
No, I was going to get onto that, but like we said, honestly, I think that might be our first push to pass podcast prediction that's gone right. I
Hey,
think.
I'll have you know, I had the top three bang on.
Did you?
Yeah, but
Fair enough.
I had Norris for pole instead of Piastri.
Well,
Someone had
little
Max.
wins, little wins.
Someone had Max Verstappen. I don't know.
No, but
Broadwatch.
terrible weekend because he's lost points anyway, and then he's done that, and now he's dropped down to 10th, and he's got 1 point from the weekend.
Well, he is now nearly 50 points behind Oscar.
Yep.
Wow, I did not realise the gap was that big.
Oscar Piastri's going to win the title.
I'm starting to think it's getting closer and closer to Oscar could potentially walk away with her a bit.
Genuinely, he doesn't have to worry about Norris. I don't think.
No, I think his biggest worry would probably still be Max.
Yeah, if he keeps outscoring Max, then he's fine. I honestly, Lando could win the next three in a row, and I'll still back Piastri to win the title.
Well, it felt like that because Lando obviously won in Monaco, and usually when I don't want to, but remember when like Hamilton and Verstappen were going back and forth, and if like when Verstappen was in lead, if Hamilton got a win, you'd be like, oh, I could probably like it might change the tide of the season here, and like Hamilton could go on to win 3 or 4. I don't get that feeling with Lando at all.
No, I don't
Like
either.
like last weekend, Lando won, and I was like, oh, it's probably still a good result for Oscar because he still finished third.
My opinion is any result where Oscar's on the podium is at this point now with the gap he's got is just as good as a win.
Can I make one request?
What?
Can you stop predicting the McLarens to crash into each other? Because every time you do, they don't get close to each other.
All right, I'll stop. I'll stop. I'm not gonna stop predicting Gavi Bortoletto's score points though.
He got close, P12, probably, if Fernando Alonso didn't drive like a man on absolute speed, and Liam Lawson probably should have got a penalty for how he driving. He probably would have got points.
See, as long as I carry on doing that, one day he'll score points.
Max Verstappen, I'll give him a 4.
It's a terrible weekend. It's a two.
Wow.
It is.
Um, P9, Fernando Alonso.
And
Any other than
sorry, he only gets a two because he gets 1 point because he scored 1 point, and he gets another because he saved it going in to the barrier.
Yeah,
That was a very
that
good
was
save.
impressive.
Yeah. So he gets 2 points.
P9 Fernando Alonso. I'm gonna go with a 9 out of 10.
Wow, 9. I was going to give him a high score because he drove well. I mean, that round the outside overtake on Hulkenberg, was it?
Oh, I think it was your boy Bortolotto.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm sure he'd. Well, it might. Oh no, I do remember him battling with Hulkenberg in like the middle part
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the race. But no, yeah. To be fair, the battle between him, Lawson, and Bortolotto towards the end was actually quite cool.
Unk just trying to keep up with the young guys.
Well, he had a weird. He went off the track really, like unforcedly, which you don't really see from Alonso. But apart from that, it's his first points of the year.
Yeah, no, I'd give him an 8. It was a very good drive.
Did better than his teammate.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked about that, have we?
No.
Did you see? So, people, again, if you haven't tuned into the Grand Prix this weekend, not Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll didn't take part after. To be fair, he qualified P14, but then didn't take part because of his wrist, which he hurt in 2023, apparently been playing back up. But Andrew Benson from the BBC reported that he lost his temper, swore at Aston Martin like workers, and broke equipment in the garage,
Well,
according to reports.
he is like the coach's son, isn't he?
Oh, definition.
Literally doesn't try help his case one bit. He's and he's got a bad temper.
He might not even be there for Canada, so you might see Felipe Drugovich.
Woo!
Because the other reserve driver is Jack Crawford, and he's not old enough, I don't think.
Old enough?
Yeah, you've got to be 18 to do in Formula 1.
Jack Crawford's not 18.
I don't think... he's either not old enough, or he doesn't have enough super license points.
He's been around for time.
Jack Crawford... Oh, no, he is 19. Oh, he's 20. So, yeah. He doesn't have the super license points, but Drugovich said he will ditch Le Mans for the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yeah, which we've both said is a stupid idea.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
For a drive you're definitely not going to get.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a different story if he had if it was like a bit of like a Nick Debris situation where you get put in, and if you create a good impression, then it can lead
it's like a test, isn't it? It's like a trial.
Yeah, yeah. But I'd just take Le Mans, to be honest.
Let's go back to our ratings. P8, Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, it's alright. I don't really remember him.
Neither do I. What happened to... Oh, Colapinto finished 15th. Apparently he's under pressure as well. Flavio Briatore said.
Jesus Christ. I can't.
So I don't even know who they would bring in to replace Colapinto.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Does Paul Aaron have enough super license points?
Should do.
Probably. He should. Yeah, because he would have finished decently in Formula 2 last year, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he came second.
Yeah, he'll have enough. Gasly quietly picking up 4 points, showing some decent pace. I will go with a 7 out of 10.
I literally don't remember a thing he did, so I'm going to go with a 6.
P7, Isaac Hadjar.
Good.
He is so good.
Some boy.
The only rookie to not be knocked out in Q1 yet.
Is he?
Yep.
That's surprising.
Especially for a VCAL.
And I was going to say, I think a lot of people would have put him as the worst rookie this year before.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Proceedings.
Not many people expected big things from him. I thought he was going to be quite good because I thought he was quite unlucky not to win F2 last year.
And I mean, there's arguments to be said that he's been the best performing rookie.
There's arguments to say he's been one of the best drivers on the grid.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just for me, it's not even his race pace. His speed over one lap is incredible.
Mm.
He's so good in qualifying.
Yeah, he is good. He can extract the lap. I don't know. Do you think that's just an ability to just be brave? Just kind of holds his breath.
Well, he has the nickname Mini Prost from when he was in like I think F3 because people said he was like really calm and he was like how he wasn't rash, which is weird for a rookie. So it might be he might be a bit like mature for his age and just have a bit
Yeah,
more of that experience there.
fair enough.
I will go with an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, took the words out of my mouth. Same as me.
This is going to be a fun one. P6, Lewis Hamilton.
Stinker.
Oh, it wasn't good, was it?
I mean that right at the end just ruined it completely.
Oh, when Hulkenberg slung one down the inside of him.
Yeah.
It was it was a good hate watch, I have to admit.
Well, moving on. So we got P5.
You don't want to talk about Big Hammy Lou.
Amilu. Yeah, you're off. Yeah.
That is,
Um,
it's not going right for him at Ferrari, is it?
no, I don't know what it means for the
And
future, but I
it's
just
getting to the point where you can't give he doesn't have experience in it anymore.
nah. But then, does the car have pace? Realistically,
Well, Leclerc finished third,
yeah, but
but Leclerc's what?
it's not. It's not like a good third. Be honest, it's not like a. I don't know. I still think there's time to be had.
I think if you get to the summer break and he's still where he is, then questions get asked.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. But it's a
You
four. He gets a four out.
a
4 out of 10.
4.
Yeah.
I'll go with a 5. I won't be
Okay.
that harsh. P5, Nico Hulkenberg. I'm going with a 12 out of 10.
Yeah, fair. This top marks. Top
He
marks.
he was going absolutely. He gained like 5 positions in the opening lap.
I don't get it. I don't get where
Where
he
did
got that from.
Yeah, he started 15th.
Clearly, they must have had a bit more pace this weekend because Bortoletto wasn't P19 like usual.
Well, Bortoletto nearly made Q. Bortoletto was how far of Q3? He was about a tenth and a half of Q3.
Yeah, so it
Then
isn't just a absolute standout performance from Hulkenberg. Clearly, they found some performance somewhere as well.
hey,
But
a silver back.
it's still a really good drive. Really good.
I think it gives them a lot more hope going into next year.
What for Audi?
Yeah, because even if Audi next Audi have said they're not going to be like the best car next year, and they're not going to have the best engine. But even if they can give Nico a car where he can, you know, probably just make it through Q3 on a few occasions, you know he's going to pick you up points. And if you
Yeah,
get a
I
race,
I can't see them being that good next year. As in what you've just said. I can't imagine they'll
no,
be
I
making
can see them
Q3.
being similar to what they are now.
Yeah.
But Hulkenberg, what a boy.
hmm
P4, we have George Russell. I will go with where did he qualify? Georgie, qualified fourth, finished fourth. You're fun, aren't you? Um, I'll give him an 8 for the comic value of what happened with Verstappen.
That's high.
Nah, I'll give him a 7.
I'll give him a 6. It was
It was just a bit of a nothingness, wasn't it?
I gotta be honest, right? He started the year really hot. We were saying, oh, he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's really good. He's proven everyone wrong. He's kind of going back to that sort of what I expected, which is
I I
best of
think
the rest.
I think that's also to do with Mercedes.
Yeah, yeah,
I think they've fallen behind a little bit because
yeah, fair.
Antonelli's not really looking like
What he
he's
was.
yeah, the gap between him and George is getting bigger, I think.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm not saying anything against George. I think he definitely deserves a new. Well, has he been given a new contract yet?
nope,
He deserves one.
he
He's
should
done
have
enough
one.
for sure.
Yeah, it was just sort of. He was very much like Gasly. He was just there.
Yeah. If it
Um,
wasn't the last like 10 laps, then we'd have said that it was just a
Middle of the
kind
road.
of performance.
P3 Charles Leclerc. Good
Yeah, I
again.
mean, I'd say a massive
Seven,
beneficiary to
seventh to third.
is a massive beneficiary to the whole Max and George thing, and obviously Max had that moment coming out the last corner, and that gave Charles the perfect sort of bounce to get him in the first corner.
And Max decided to turn in a straight.
Hmm
Um,
So look, it was a good drive. I mean, clearly, if you put him up against his teammate, he's far
quite
outperforming
clear.
him. Yeah, yeah. So I think it was a good result. Eight.
Yeah, I'd say an 8 or a 7. It's a bit better than probably what we'd expect, but also it's not like he hasn't finished second or one.
No, no, he's not. He's came third, mate.
This could, well, thanks, mate. This could cause some debate. P2 Lando Norris.
Uh, like a 6.
I was going to go with a 6 because he was 2 tenths off Oscar and just didn't really look like challenging Oscar at all.
No, it was frantic qualifying performance,
Bottled qualifying
and then bottled. Well,
the
he wouldn't say
start.
bottled, but he lost positions on the start. Strategy wise, then let Verstappen in, obviously running second. Uh, and they definitely had the fastest car by a complete mile.
Oh, yeah, it was they when Oscar put 7 tenths on the rest of the field in FP3. People were a bit like, oh well, it's just a battle for the third place for everyone else. Then.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
he qualifying is doing my head in with Lando a bit.
fair.
He's just so like scatty.
I think it's not even that's not his style either. Like when it's going well for Lando, it's all about that mid corner pace.
Well, I think he was like even last year when people were saying he was bottling stuff, he was still getting pole positions.
Yeah, do you think it's a case of the car that he doesn't like the way that the car is, or is it just the pressure?
Oh, good point. Because I think this suits Oscar's. Oscar looks far more comfortable in the car. And I think that was evident in that Q3 lap, with the fact of Oscar looks so much more in control, whilst looking like he was pushing more than Lando.
Could it be argued that that's because he spent less time in that McLaren in
Yeah,
terms
maybe,
of
and
the
maybe,
scale of development of he's just not it's kind of ignorance is bliss in he didn't know how the car behaved before, so he's kind of come in with just more of a fresh slate.
yeah, maybe because obviously Lando spent, that 2019 where they've sort of gone between P5 and P1 in the constructors,
Yeah,
whereas Oscar's only really been there when they've been like in the
E3.
top 4, top 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe
I mean, and
Piastri.
that isn't to sort of downgrade Piastri in my opinion of him. I think what he's doing there is way ahead of where he should be realistically in his F1 career. But I'm just saying perhaps the car isn't working as well for Lando as it is
No,
for
it's.
Piastri.
I think it's quite similar to Lewis and Ferrari, where Charles looks far more comfortable in the Ferrari. Same with how Piastri looks far more comfortable in the McLaren.
Yeah, but
And
the difference is Charles should look more comfortable because he's had 6 years or whatever it is there, whereas Norris he's far enough into his career now where this shouldn't be bothering him,
no, but
but
it is.
clearly it is. Yeah,
P1,
yeah,
Oscar Piastri.
yep.
I'm not going to give him a 10 because
That's boring.
yeah, I'll give him a 9.
Wow. Uh,
I just think his qualifying performance was incredible.
It was. It's exactly what he needed, and I love it again how unfazed he is. Like all that carnage behind him, and he was 5 seconds up the road. Just
Hey, he just bolted clear.
yeah. It's like
Doesn't need to.
no one showed him a wheel the whole race, did they?
No, he had. I think Max like drew up alongside him into turn one, but that lasted literally about 2 or 3 corners.
It's yeah. He's just at the moment he looks unshakable. That
Very
being said,
nearly.
though, that could
ve-
change
Yeah, look, it's
as
well.
it gets to like round 15, and the title battle's on. Kind of getting towards the end of the season and he's expected to deliver. Because eventually it's going to get awkward where McLaren are going to have to go, right, like Piastri is going to be obvious to win the title, so we're going to prioritise you.
I think they've gone.
Then
I
pressure
think,
might go.
yeah, I think they've got as probably optimistic as it sounds. I think they need to actually meet on track first before McLaren rush to like team orders and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. We've not had much, have we? If
No,
any
because like
sort of track combat between the
no,
two of them.
they the closest I'd say we've got to that was in Japan. I want to say where Oscar wanted to attack Max, and they were like,
Yeah,
"No,
yeah.
Lando second, don't move."
Higher rules.
Oh, that's woke. But no, I think when it gets down to like the end of the season, from what I've seen from Oscar this year and from what we've seen from Lando historically, I'd back Oscar a lot more when the pressure was on.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with you, but you don't know for sure.
No, look, it's obviously when we get to Abu Dhabi, it'll be a lot nicer to know with hindsight. But if I was, I'm not a gambling man, but if I was, I would say under pressure, Oscar Piastri looks a lot less phased and a lot less like he doesn't seem to put the pressure on himself. But when he does pressure himself, he seems to deliver.
Yeah. But then we got to think about Max Verstappen, the bloke who's done it 4 times already. If he's within a chance, you know that he's gonna do whatever he needs to do.
I can honestly see the title going. Oscar gets like 100 points clear of like Charles and sort of that buffer, and Max is closing in on Lando, and McLaren are like, right, well, we'll prioritize Oscar just to protect him from Max rather than him from Lando.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't be
I
surprised
don't
either.
think I don't think Oscar's biggest threat is Lando. I think his biggest threat is Max.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Um, biggest winners and biggest losers from the weekend. I've got my biggest loser, and it's comfortable. And this man is 100% on fraud watch. It is Yuki Tsunoda.
That's harsh.
Is it?
But
He qualified last.
he had a shit weekend, but it's that car. I'm so fed up with that car.
This is what I was getting at. I'm annoyed at Yuki's results because I know it's not what Yuki can do.
I just he'd have been in the top 10 if he stayed in that V carb.
I'm gonna
I
knock
think.
Isaac Hadjar away.
Oh no, it's just because he'll be the next one. Oh, why is Hajar not in the car? Oh, send Hajar up. Oh, he's the best thing we've seen. Oh, he's the best Red Bull driver. And then he gets there, and then they give him 4 races, and then they want him out. It's a constant cycle. No one seems to learn.
This is going to sound a bit iffy. Is Max doing more damage to Red Bull than he is doing good?
No, you can't say that just because you can't say that because he's won 4 titles on the bounce.
I no, I don't. I don't mean. I mean from like a team's perspective.
Even
And
so, like the
also,
titles are what matter. So
also is the people deserve to give Sergio Perez a bit of an apology.
I think so. I was never in the hate Sergio Perez camp.
Oh no, I was always of. Don't get me wrong. I was always of the case that Red Bull could probably do better than him, but I don't think the answer was Yuki or Liam.
Did his performances drop over the year and a half at the end? Yes. Was that entirely his fault? No.
But he was, even though he wasn't making like Q3 every weekend, he was still scoring points nigh on every weekend.
Yeah. Is he the best Red Bull teammate that Max has had?
Comparison?
No, the only person who could like dispute that would be Daniel Ricciardo, but they liked crashing into each other too much.
And
So
also that was still when Mad Max was a thing, wasn't it?
yeah.
And
So
he was still
I'd
very
say he
forward.
definitely is. I'd say Perez is definitely the best teammate Max has had.
Yeah, because well, you got if you look, what you would have been 2023, where people genuinely thought Perez could have a title fight.
Yeah, his first like 5 races was like a second, a first, a second, second, and a first or
Yeah,
something.
'cause he was a street race specialist, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a demon. Azerbaijan hates to see that man coming.
He was the street race, or as Twitter like to call it, the countries with a poor human rights record. Um, One thing I did want to mention about Max was his performance clause in his contract. Reportedly, is as long as he's in the top four by the summer break, then his clause doesn't matter.
Yes, I saw that, which kind of puts to bed the whole, oh, he's going to leave F1.
Well, he's currently on 137 points and he's in third, and Charles, who's in fifth, is on 94 points, so he's got quite a buffer.
Unless this is his master plan, and this was the start of it, of him just crashing into everyone every week.
Hey, if he gets a race ban,
Yeah.
it's on.
No, I don't think he'll be leaving F1 anytime soon. I mean, I think it was, even when we were talking about it right at the start of the pod, it was more a what if sort of scenario. I never thought
Yeah,
that it was going to be the case.
It was just rumours, wasn't it? And
Yeah, I
people
mean,
speculating.
although it'd be interesting to see what happened if he
I,
did leave.
I think it would probably cause like the biggest move, like the biggest chain of moves we've probably seen in a good long time.
It would be exciting seeing, because as you say, that chain reaction would be crazy.
Because Red Bull would need a new number one, which would mean they'd probably take one of the other teams' number one or twos, which means someone would then have to go there and there, and it'd just be like
It would, yeah. It cause a chain of like 5 different moves.
I'm here for it.
I mean, should we go to Monaco and solve it ourselves? Just barricade him on his balcony till he freezes.
Convince him to become a sim racer. He dies.
Yeah.
Who's your biggest loser?
My biggest loser of the weekend is Lewis Hamilton's up there.
I just say Haas is up there.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Haas would really disappoint him.
Who else is up there?
I think there's a blaring one I've missed.
Is there?
Carlos Sainz.
Oh yeah, well, he had women crying in the stands. So
He's always like sad.
yeah, no, I'll give it to him. That's a good shout. Home race as
Home
well.
race P18, then finished P14 and got lapped.
Got lapped by 3 of his former teammates.
Bozo.
So yeah,
Biggest winner,
not good.
I think, is obvious. Hulkenberg.
Uh, yeah, but realistically, no.
No.
In the broader scale, it is definitely still Piastri. But
Yeah.
we'll say, to give him his moment, it's Hulkenberg, because
That'll be boring.
my opinion is it's not. This is like a one-off thing. It's not.
Yeah.
So actually, no. You know what? He is the biggest winner because this will be good for the constructors, no matter what.
He is the GOAT. Overall weekend thoughts. I think it was quite a good weekend.
Yeah, I think a lot came
I
out
think
of it.
it was good for it was good for feature races. Not feature races, the feeder series.
Yes, yeah, it was. It
And
was a good weekend.
the aftermath has been quite funny.
Yeah, just because F1.
F1 doing F1 things. But we have no race weekend this weekend because it is the Canadian Grand Prix in a week's time, which I am looking forward to because I love the Canadian Grand Prix.
Me too.
Big
As
old
do
fan.
I. Yep.
Usually chaos. Hopefully Stroll's not there.
Lots of rain, I hope.
I love a wet Canadian Grand Prix.
Yeah, boy.
Can't wait to see Bortoleto win the Wall of Champions, confirming he will be a champion one day.
You heard it here first, he will.
But,
Bortoleto 2031.
well, so in 6 years.
Yeah.
But that is all we have time for today on the Push to Pass F1 podcast. I hope you have enjoyed. If you are listening on Spotify, don't forget to rate us 5-star and drop us a follow. It massively helps. If you're listening on YouTube, drop us a like, give us a subscribe. We've been averaging probably our best views on YouTube the past couple of weeks, so the support on there has been unreal. So for that, thank you. I've been Max.
I've been brief.
And this has been the Push to Pass F1 podcast.